Hello, this is Christy Strickler for GetItScrap.com. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at some ideas for scrapbooking your beach photos. You're going to be able to document the stories that you want about the beach, regardless of whether you have a beach-themed scrapbooking kit or whether you're just searching through your stash of supplies. We've got plenty of ideas for you from our creative team and masterful scrapbook design teachers. What I want you to pay attention to is how each person documented their beach outing using colors, specific products, photo crops, and their layout design. Our first layout is by Marie-Pierre Capistran. On her work, The Most Beautiful Beach in the World, she's created a small scene with die cuts, torn craft cardstock, and ruffled ribbon. She does this to scrapbook a photo of her family on the beach. The ruffled ribbon mimics the waves of the water. What's wonderful about this page is that you don't need a large amount of beach supplies to create this particular look. You'll notice the main beach supplies she has are those die-cut seashells. She's used the tan color of cardstock, again ripped, to create that beach scene, and blue ribbon from her supplies. Our second layout is from Tara McKernan, and it's called My Love for You. It shows her son and his first ever trip to the beach. Tara says, I could have scrapped this in a traditional we went to the beach for the first time way, but instead I focused on the emotion of this photo from back in 2004. When I look at this photo, I feel overwhelmed with love for my son, and that's the approach I decided to go with here. Like this huge beach and even larger a body of water, my love for him is endless. So she's gone with a simple quote to document that, and she went more with the emotional feeling behind the page to tell this story. What I also want to point out is that in her design, she's replicated the water meeting the shoreline. And you sort of saw that on Marie-Pierre's layout as well, where you've got that distinctive point between the water and the land. She's used the tan colors here, and she's kept the embellishing very simple. So your beach layouts can tell quite a complex story with just very simple usage of your supplies. Our next layout is from Debbie Hodge. She says that she tends to take a lot of beach photos and everything looks like it should be recorded, but quite often there's no bigger story to tell, and I think that's something that we all struggle with. On the previous layout, you saw how Tara kind of changed that around by going into the emotion about how the beach and the ocean kind of mimicked the way that she felt about her son. So that's one way that you can go. Another way to go is to do what Debbie did, in which she breaks up the beach trip into a few different layouts, grouping the photos together logically. On Great Memories, she cropped 4 photos to 4x6 with portrait orientation, even though most of them were taken as landscapes, and then arranged the 4 in a staggered band across the page. Now, I don't know if it's what she was intending, but I like the use of the band on the beach layout because for me, again, it brings me back to that replication of the water meeting the shoreline. I also love how she used flowers and very subtle botanical prints and stamps on this page. So if you don't have a lot of beachy themed items, think about how beaches are often near a lush kind of tropical paradise. That's what we associate it with. And look in your supplies for flowers or botanical prints and then use them in subtle small amounts on the layout. It took Francine Clouden over 6 months to use this much-loved photo on You Are My Sunshine for the scrapbook page. Francine says, I printed it out in January and made this page in late August. It just goes to show. The photo was taken in Granada, my childhood home, and it was the first time that Kieran had been to my favorite beach. The title says it all. I added the pennant banner as a fun embellishment to balance the sun shape placed above, as well as to lead the eye from the title into the journaling section. What I like about this layout is that, again, it's not necessarily a typical beach photo. She's talking about how her son is her sunshine. So it's kind of like a play on both the emotion and the actual events because there's obviously sunshine at the beach. There really aren't any beach-themed items here on this page. So if you don't have a beach collection or kit to use, you can use bright colors, summer colors, any type of print or pattern that makes you think of the beach and the warm weather in which you would go down to the beach, and use those as scraps of paper to create your own sunshine on the page. Speaking of color, we've seen layouts that use brown because you think of the sand. We've seen the orange and the yellow of the sun. We've seen green for the lush vegetation that you find near the beach. This next layout emphasizes blue. It's monochromatic, but it's very effective in its use of color. Adrienne Driscoll edited her single photo, lightening up substantially and emphasizing the blues. That's something that you can do as well, not just with your beach layout, but with any photos, regardless of the story or the scrapbook page theme that it is. You can edit your photos to emphasize a certain color or give it a certain feel or mood to capture what you want to tell in the story. She's also added brushwork in blue and teal along with a digital frame. A single brad and water droplets add a bit of dimension. She doesn't have a lot of beach-themed items on her page. She just has that one simple sand dollar. So very minimal use of color, very minimal use of embellishments, and this proves that you can go in your stash of supplies and document a beach story without having to have a beach kit. Leia is always looking for ways to document regular trips to the beach. On this page, she wanted to make a note of one of her youngest son's quirks. He hates the salty seawater, so he ends up dashing around the edges of the waves and only trusts his daddy to take him in where it's not very deep at all. She says, this page actually came together very quickly. The middle, light blue piece comes from part of a 12 by 12 sheet of patterned paper, so I just cut it out. The foam letters matched the printed title perfectly, and the rest was easy. We've seen some lighter colors used. This one brings in a more traditional navy, darker blue color to the page. I like that she has strips on the right-hand side. They kind of hint at those sun's rays. So we've seen a complete paper piece sun before. What this shows is that you don't need the whole paper piece sun to give the illusion of the sun's rays. I love that she's used an orange flower near those rays because it reminds me of the sun. So if you don't have a sunshine in your stash, look for flowers that could possibly be a substitute. She also doesn't have a lot of actual beach theme embellishing, but she does have word art. So you can either find beach word art or make your own. Jana Morton likes using repeated or sequential photos on her pages for several reasons. On this particular page, it captures the energy of the day where her children are running around. She's got one large focal photo with both kids in it, and then she's cropped down some smaller supporting photos and arranged them kind of beneath the larger photo so that she can show the action and energy of the day. This is probably something that would be good for those of you that have small children because it's very likely that you're taking a lot of quick photos in succession. I also like that the photos kind of add their own pop of color when they're paired with this brown monochromatic layout. For many, the beach brings to mind a relaxing day, and that's the case for this next layout. Vicki Walters says, the beach means taking life easy. The sights, smells, the waves, and the seagulls, they are all relaxing and they take me away from everyday life. Sunrises and sunsets are so beautiful over the water. This layout is a sunset on the beach and uses all the beautiful colors of the beach and the mood. The elements added are little accents of love, peace, and happiness that the beach brings me. The layering in the background is representative of the erosion and weathered effects that are so beautiful to me. So there's a lot of times when we're at the beach and we'll take these beautiful photos, but we don't know what to do with them. This is a great example of how you can take one of those photos and make it part of a meaningful story in your scrapbook page. She's used a quote to help tell her story in place of journaling, and she's got embellishments that are symbolic to help add that feeling and mood to the page. The story on this layout for Love is of a Labor Day at the beach when Debbie's family and friends pitched in alongside other beachgoers to help dig a wedding proposal in the sand. The photos are kept zoomed out. They don't focus on the details or on any one person, but rather on the whole scene. The real story is told in the journaling, and the cue to that story is the title, which also happens to be the page focal point. Both the title and the journaling are placed on the open space of the enlarged photos. Beach photos with their expanses of sand and sky often provide a kind of usable open space for you. So this would be a layout in which, if you've got some of those beach photos with large expanses of sky or ground, you can print them larger and use them to house your journaling and your title, like Debbie's done here. I also want to point out that the supplies all are kind of weathered looking. And we sort of saw that on the previous layout as well. It kind of brings about thoughts of driftwood on the beach. So those weathered, grungy layouts can be a perfect item to use to document beach stories. On some of the earlier layouts, we talked about the use of color. And you've seen a lot of the traditional beach colors, the blues, orange, yellow, brown, and how those play with the color photos. This next layout takes that contrast a little bit further. It's got the traditional beachy kind of colors and feel, but the photos are a little bit different. Tanya Deskins loves these pictures of her youngest daughter, and she says, "I know it might be traditional to scrap beach photos with bright, beautiful pictures, but I love that high contrast black and white enables me to focus on her expressions of joy, more than the beach itself." So changing your photos to black and white, especially if you're closely cropped in on the person in the photo, can give you the opportunity to play with color and bring that person even more into focus on your scrapbook page story. If you have a tendency to go to the beach a lot and you have a lot of beach photos, there are times when you might struggle with coming up with a title or story idea. You can get your inspiration from a favorite movie or a song, just as Katie Scott did in this next layout. She says, "This page title is a quote from the movie Soul Surfer, a story about a girl who lost her arm to a shark and kept on surfing. She maintained her positive attitude throughout. That story of overcoming obstacles and making the best of things and being brave and happy in the process is one of my favorite types of stories. These photos from our 2011 trip to Cocoa Beach and my first attempt at surfing are perfect for such a story. Oftentimes when I start journaling, I have an inkling of what I want to say, but I don't plan it out. I just start writing and I don't worry about my long run-on sentences. After I'm finished journaling, I often pick up some of the words to write over again so that they stand out. On this page, I highlighted Soul Surfer, Positive Attitude, Brave, Happy, and Cocoa Beach." Ashley Horton likes to create a scene on her beach pages. She says, "It's a great way to take your memory back to the experiences you encounter at the beach. Sunshine, fluffy clouds, water and waves, sand, etc. To create the waves on this layout, Ashley fussy cut pieces from an 8x8 pattern paper and layered them under the photos. She added some pop dots to the center wave to give it a more dimension. For the sun, she cut several strips of paper and placed them under the edge of the photo. She added a sticker and button for the center of the sun and a little bit of hand stitching for texture. She hand drew the cloud with a pencil and then used a fine point zig adhesive pin around the edges to glue down baker's twine." This is another one of those layouts in where there's very minimal use of actual beach-themed scrapbooking supplies. She's got the one beach-themed sticker or die cut, the little girls underneath that beachy title there. But everything else just comes from her basic supplies. We've seen another example in which scraps were used to paper piece a sun. Those waves could be scallops, so you could use a scallop punch or scalloped pattern paper to create them. Very minimal embellishing, but it captures the beach scene perfectly. When it comes to documenting our beach stories, we often focus on our time at the beach itself, but these next two layouts show that we can capture preparations and we can capture the aftermath of being at the beach. Katie Scott lives in Florida and she's made lots and lots of layouts about the beach. She says, rather than making another layout about being at the beach, I thought about what goes through my mind when I think about it. 2 thoughts come to mind. 1, we live less than 5 minutes from St. Pete Beach, where people from all over the world travel for vacation, so we really should make that short trip more often. 2, I shouldn't let the dreaded post-beach car full of sand, beach toys, and damp beach towels stop me from getting to the beach. Katie took the photo on Beach Chunk after a trip to Treasure Island Beach with 4 children. Katie says we had a sandcastle building contest and the kids still talk about that day as being completely awesome. Scrapbooking this photo is a perfect reminder to myself that Beach Chunk is just part of a day at the beach. This is a 9x9 layout that will go in my Let's Go mini album, which is full of pages about vacations and about the travels to and from them. So you could snap a similar photo either on your way to the beach with all of the items that you take with you, or the car the way it looks after coming home from the beach. This final layout is from Debbie Hodge. At day's end includes the photos she took at the end of a long day at the beach. Debbie says, I often try to get a posed group shot at the end of the day of the whole gang. I love it when I get a shot of the moms. I scrapbooked this page with a clean block design in order to get multiple photos and journaling to fit in. I've also noticed that she has a shot of a restaurant, and while I don't know the full story there, I would like to add that my family and I often had places that we would stop on the way home from the beach. At the end of the day, if there's something traditional that you do when you're coming home from the beach, it would be a wonderful story to document. We've seen a lot of wonderful examples of beach stories documented on these scrapbook layouts. Remember that you don't always have to have specific beach supplies in order to capture those stories. It's really about the color, the design, and the way you blend those in with the photos to create your scrapbook page that matter. For more inspiration, visit getitscrapped.com/blog.